Hello, welcome to Spotlight on SOURIS. Today is October the 12th, 2022, and I'm happy to have with us here Duane Davison, who is a mayoral candidate for this year's election, which happens October 26th. Right, Duane?
That's correct.
Thank you for coming in to talk with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
We so appreciate your time. Now let's start with, now I know you were born and raised in SOURIS, right?
Yes.
But you spent many years away.
Yes.
And then you came back.
Yes.
Well, what brought you back?
Well, it's home. It's always been home. My wife and I are both from here, and
you would come back through the years,
we
right?
come back frequently. Actually,
Yeah.
well, funny, I came back 13 years in a row for Survivor, which was
Score.
always it was
A ton of fun.
always an adventure.
Yeah.
But it was fantastic. What was neat about Survivor is that every time I come home, I got to see everybody in one spot.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
I just had to go back to wherever I was coming from to get a rest.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we come back frequently, and it's always felt like home, and it always, really happy to come back and kind of sad to leave. And, so that coupled with, there's some stuff going on when we were with our other business in Alberta. The oil patch has slowed down a bit. I mean, we were doing fine, but we'd kind of been thinking about coming here eventually. My dad was getting up there in years, and he, there was no family here for my dad, and so we thought, you know what, let's just pull the trigger and get our butts back here, and it's been fantastic. Best move we ever made.
Good.
Fantastic.
Good. Okay, so why are you running for mayor?
Why? I guess primarily because, well, first of all, because I care about our community and I care about the future of it. This is our last move. We're not going anywhere. When we moved back, kind of, our expectations of kind of what we thought we'd find when we got back, it just wasn't what we envisioned. Seems to me to be a lot of just like an inordinate amount of negativity, and people just seem kind of resigned to the fact that nothing's going to change. Kind of, just a lot of just things, and so I kind of, quite frankly, and nobody else was stepping up, and myself and my many supporters, which I'm humbled by the fact there is lots of supporters. And it's been quite an experience so far, but we just felt that it's time for a change, and kind of like and the incumbent's been around for a long time, and 17 years, as a matter of fact, and I think kind of like a hockey team, sometimes you maybe have to just change the coach to shake things up a bit, and
Okay.
That's kind of what we're about.
So what do you say to people who say, well, why wouldn't you run for council first before you run for mayor?
Well, and I appreciate that, but again, quite frankly, we feel there's time for a change, and nobody else was stepping up to effect that change. So I thought, I have the time, I have the interest, I've always been interested, never had the time. And
now you have the time.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Which, if I get elected, that time's going to disappear.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Question.
So if you, let's say you are successful on October 26th and you do become mayor, like, what's the plan then? What's
the plan? I guess the first thing I'm going to do, if I become mayor, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have a conversation with every employee of the municipality, and I want to impress upon them how important they are to the success of the community going forward. I feel that, it's funny, I had a friend years ago when I worked in a different job, was an engineer, and he says, you can't build a bridge with just engineers. You need everybody. You need people on shovels, people on pickaxes, people that can weld and cut and pour concrete. And the same goes for the town, that the town doesn't operate without everybody pulling the rope in the same direction. And I feel it's important that all the employees understand that we value what they do. And I also want to have a chat with them about perhaps where they see themselves, and how if they feel appreciated or not, and where they see themselves in the future. So yeah, every one of them is as important as the next person, including everybody on council. I mean, we need the whole team working together for it to work. Right.
And you need qualified people working for the town. There's people who need have requirements of tickets and licensing and all that. How do we keep that happening in our community? As people age, we're aging, and some of them are retiring and stuff like that. How do we keep that going?
Well, that's an interesting question. It's a challenge that every business has, quite frankly. I guess the biggest thing what we can control right now is making sure that the people we have are being trained and upgraded on a regular basis so that they can fulfill their duties and perhaps be prepared to go into, maybe a different job as it comes up. As far as replacing people, that's just, that's one of the challenges that every business has. And
For sure.
you just take that as it comes. You try and plan somewhat. Obviously, where I've worked in the past in my businesses, you try not to have one person that has a single skill set and nobody else is trained to take their place. I mean, people
Right.
go on holidays, people get sick, people
Right.
have maternity leave, people, slip on a banana peel.
Right, that happens.
And so we have to be able to film, especially this is a business with a limited amount of employees, so you have to have multiple skill sets that can cross over.
Sure, sure. But keeping that unified is very important. And
Absolutely.
keeping the communication from here to here is very, very important,
Absolutely.
right?
Very important.
Okay. So what do you have for long-term goals that you want to accomplish over a 4-year term?
Well, long-term goals is interesting. The biggest one for me, quite frankly, is community policing. This is my opinion. I've talked to several people that agree with me. I feel that we spend a significant portion of our budget on emergency services. A good portion of that is on policing. And quite frankly, I don't feel we're getting our money's worth, for lack of a better term.
Sure.
We're not getting our money's worth for the policing bit. And that's, the RCMP is short-staffed, unfortunately. It's been an issue they've had for a long time. And oftentimes in our community, if there's a call put out to the police, they're coming from Carberry. And they may be north of Carberry, east of Carberry.
Yeah.
They may be in Carberry, but it's at least an hour before they arrive.
Yeah.
So if it's an emergency of some sort, or if there's a bad guy around, there's a good chance that the bad guy's long gone by the time they show up.
Right.
And so my thoughts are a community like Rivers has had community policing actually virtually forever, I think.
Right. Many
There's
years.
many communities around as well. There are larger communities though, like Morden and St. Anne and Oakbank,
Okay.
that have community policing as well. And they all do things a little different. But we can look at them for models for what we would want to do. Obviously, Rivers to me is the closest model to our size and our geographic area as well.
Right.
And how they deal with, say, mutual aid with the RCMP and that kind of thing, cooperates with their police forces. I know they cooperate obviously with the RCMP and I think for maybe the city police at certain times. But we look into that and I don't know, quite frankly, if it's feasible, but I think it's something we have to investigate and perhaps get more bang for our buck.
Yes, okay, okay. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the voters? And
Yeah, I think, the one thing that I want to talk about is I think that it's important that, and again, it's not just me. I'm part of if I'm elected, I'll be part of a team of people. There's 6 councillors, and I'm the guy that's, head. I'm the head of council. It's a title, but in reality, my analogy is if you think of a multi-person bike, there's 7 of us on the bike. I'm the guy steering the bike, but if everybody's not pedaling together, we're not going anywhere.
Right.
And we need to I think incorporate a culture change where we can get people to be more positive and more engaged. And that's right from the councillors to the townspeople. We need to acknowledge the volunteers in our community. I think that a lot of our volunteers are underappreciated, much like the employees are. I think we got to acknowledge the work they do and encourage them to do the work. And I also think that we have to just try and foster an environment where people are encouraged to come forward with new ideas. And if they have an idea, then we try and provide them with the tools they need to see that idea to fruition.
right, right, as long as it's a feasible idea, of course.
Absolutely.
Do you have any ideas on bringing new industry to our community?
I've got some ideas on what we need to do, or I'd like to see done as far as preparing, as far as preparing for that. My idea is I mean, first thing we need to do, quite frankly, in my opinion, is establish an industrial area, and if we don't have infrastructure in place, at least have a plan for it. So somebody comes and asks us what we have available, we don't just point at a piece of dirt. We can, if nothing else, point at a plan.
Right.
But again, I may not have the answer, but if we encourage dialogue and encourage people to perhaps think outside the box, then somebody will have the answer. I think that you know, we want to make sure everybody's voice is heard, and they feel free to raise their issues. And the biggest thing I want to do, quite frankly, I've got a note here. I want to get rid of the culture of can't in this town, and what I mean by that is it seems that every time a suggestion's made, that it's kind of like, oh, we can't do that. Oh, and I'll give you an example. I'm involved with the Chamber of Commerce, and we had some excess money, and we decided that we were going to give a couple of concrete wheelchair accessible picnic tables to the town to set up. We thought it'd be a good idea to set them up on the Crescent. So the Chamber contacted the town.
Wheelchairs have access to the
Yeah.
the sidewalks, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we went to the town and said, we've got these 2 free picnic tables we're going to give you, and here's where we think they might want to go. And we were immediately met with like a negative response, like, oh, we can't do that. And we're kind of puzzled because we're offering them for free, and quite frankly, if in our opinion, if where we wanted to put them didn't work, then find somewhere else.
Let's negotiate.
They're free.
Yeah.
Anyway, it took us literally months just to get approval for 2 free picnic tables. So the culture of can't, what it does is it discourages people from becoming involved, from volunteering for committees. As a matter of fact, it is, I'm aware of several people that have actually quit committees and quit boards because of the culture of can't. It discourages people from coming forward with new ideas. What we have to do is change that culture of can't to instead of saying can't, how about say that's a great idea, let's look into that, let's address that, let's see what needs to be done to make that happen. Let's encourage people to come forward. Let's change, and that's part of the whole thing I'm talking about. We change the whole culture of how we approach things. You never know what crazy idea might be a winner. If you don't ever take a swing, you're not going to hit the ball. And if you don't hit the ball, you're not going to hit any home runs. And you're going to strike out periodically as well. There's going to be the odd time you strike out, but if you don't make the effort, then there's no potential for going forward. So there's a lot of things we can do. In my opinion, the biggest part is that get rid of the culture of can't. Give people the tools they need to get things done. Encourage them to get things done. And then hopefully good things happen.
And improve communication. There's lots of things within that positive atmosphere that you're talking about. There's a lot of things that can do improve communication and et cetera.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So I'm under no illusions that if I'm elected, that it's going to be a tough slog. There's going to be a lot of work and a lot to learn. Having said that, back to the experience thing on council, I did the math. There's 5 people running. New people running. There's 6 positions. One of the new people has council experience, so even if all 5 newcomers get elected, excuse me, there'll be at least 2 councilors with experience. So it's not like we can walk in there with nobody that has any experience. Sure. Okay, I see. Yeah. You know what I mean? And we have obviously admin staff that's got experience. There's I think the potential is fantastic. That all the people that are running and people that are existing are all wonderful people, and they all care about our community, and so that's huge. For me, again, the position itself is a little unusual. I've been on boards, I've been on committees, I've been president of the golf course and the curling club, where I came from before, at the same time, which wasn't very bright probably, but it's an opportunity, and I'm aware it's going to be a little bit difficult for a while, but quite frankly, I look forward to the challenge, and I'm grateful for the opportunity.
So, Duane, tell me, what do you think when people say, oh, well, you're looking at the town of Souris like a business? It's not really a business. What do you say to that?
Well, I say, and it's interesting, you know, people talk about my lack of council experience, but I have a great deal of business experience, and it absolutely is a business. It's a business where it's a unique business, but it's a business like any other. You have employees and HR issues. You have assets. You have vehicles, equipment, maintenance, repairs. You have contingency funds for something going sideways with that kind of thing. You have budgets and short and long-term forecasts. You have revenue, which in this case is taxes, and you have expenses. And a business, any successful business, obviously the revenue has to exceed the expenses. Well, we don't shoot for that in the town because obviously it's not a for-profit business, but we certainly want to make sure that we don't have to, we don't have to operate at a profit. We don't want to operate at a loss either.
Okay.
And it's unique in that the shareholders of the business are also our customers, which is the citizens of the community. And so with the money they give us, they expect us to provide a service, and they expect a certain level of service at a reasonable price. And it's an interesting analogy, but in a typical transaction like that, say you go to a restaurant and you give $5 for a plate of French fries, you get 5 French fries. That's a buck of fries. That's pretty expensive French fries. So your options there is perhaps you don't go back to that restaurant. In our situation, in the community, if the people aren't satisfied with this level of service, they really only have 2 options, and one's very extreme, and that's to pack up and move to a different community. And the second one is to exercise their democratic right and vote for change.
Okay.
And that's your options.
Right.
I guess a third option, quite frankly, if we're dealing with transparency, and what I've been talking about before, is they can voice their opinions, and we certainly will listen to those opinions. But ultimately, at the end of the day, they're the customer, and we have to deal with their concerns.
Right.
So it is a business.
Yes, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it's everybody's business, really,
Exactly.
if you think about
exactly.
that. Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And we got to remember as well that we all work for them, and them being the people of the community.
Yes.
They're our bosses.
Wow. Well, I do appreciate your time, and I appreciate the fact that you have a heart for SOURIS, not only from the history that you have, but now the future that you have with it. So appreciate you sharing that with us today, Duane.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you for joining us here at Spotlight in SOURIS. I hope you have a wonderful day.